Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining in. We'll begin shortly. Let more people come in and join us today, and then we'll start the webinar in a while. All right, so we already have 25 participants who have joined us. So waiting for more, and then we'll begin shortly. Great, great. Numbers are increasing. Perfect. So you have a lot in store today. Great. So thank you for joining us today for this webinar on AI-powered grading meets traditional pen and paper assessments. We are so glad to have you all with us today. Please feel free to drop in the chat your name and where are you joining us from today so that we can give a quick shout out to our audience. All right, so I'm keeping a watch on the chat now. Hello, so we have Anurag. Hi, Anurag. Chris from Milan. Hi, Chris. Mary from Indonesia. Helen from IB Diploma Coordinator Spain. Mubarak from Sri Lanka. Jules from Norway. Jules and Jennifer together. Anurag from New Delhi. Lorna from Lithuania, Neha from India. Hello, everybody. Oh, such a diverse audience with us today. So glad to have you all today with us. Great. Welcome, everybody. So now let's move forward and take this opportunity to introduce our host for today. So we have with us Karn, who is Director Curriculum AssessPrep. Hi, Karn. Then we have with us Karan Gupta, co-founder of AssessPrep team. Hi, Karan.
Hello everyone. Hello.
Let me take an opportunity to introduce our panelists today. Julie Baxter from International School of Busan. Hi, Julie. So
Hi
glad
there.
to have. Perfect. Now, some housekeeping rules so that you all are with us today. So yes, from time to time, you can drop in your questions in the Q&A section. You can park your questions there and we'll address those questions during live chat. And you will also get an opportunity to interact with us through polls. You can record in your responses when we launch those polls. And yes, please don't forget to share your learning, whatever you resonate with us today on social media by tagging us using our event hashtag IB World School, hashtag ManagePack, hashtag AssessPrep on Twitter, LinkedIn, or Insta, whatever you are most familiar with. Please go ahead and share your learning. All right. So now we are going to quickly launch our first poll where we'll get to know our audience. Yes, so time to gear up for the first poll. And here you go. So what best describes your role at your school? So let's see who all are there in our audience. All right, the responses have started coming in. So 30 seconds more before we end the poll. All right. 3, 2, 1, and we end the poll. So yes, 48% of our audience are teachers. Hello, everybody. 16% from technology and 35% from leadership team. There is a lot for all of us today in this webinar. All right. So moving forward, so what is in store for you, right? So let's dive into what we have in store for you today. And trust me, this is a session you don't want to miss for sure. I can vouch for that. Yeah. Okay, so we have divided this session into two parts. So part one, which is fireside chat with Karn and Julie. And they are going to talk about like how Assess Prep has transformed their school's assessment journey. It is packed with insights and some real world solution that you can take back in your own school. So please, if you're curious about possibility for your school, then this is the segment to watch. So stay tuned. Yeah. And now that's not the end, right? So, and just when you think it couldn't have been better, you will be thrilled to unveil something groundbreaking in the second part. Now, what's that? So, drum roll coming in. So, the second part that we are going to unveil is our paper mode. So, I'm sure you're going to stay back with us for the second part where Karan is going to take us through our new releases about paper mode, and you will hear from him for sure. So, this entire session will be packed with insights, good solutions, any tools to supercharge your assessments. Then, so say, stay tuned throughout our session, and you will walk away with n number of ideas and possibilities that you can implement in your school. So, are you all geared up so that we can begin our session for today? Yeah, I can feel that vibe from the audience. So, yes, so let's gear up and move forward. So, over to you, Karan.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Meenu. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone in your respective time zones. It's amazing to see so many people coming from so many different parts of the world. Thank you for taking the time out and for joining today's webinar. Um, for the benefit of those who are unaware, let me just give you a quick introduction about who I am and what I do at AssessPrep. Then I'll talk about Julie as well. My name is Karan, as you can see on the screen, and as Meenu has told you. I have over a decade of experience working in IB schools. I've been a former IB, YP, and a DP coordinator. I've been an IB language and literature facilitator for 10 years now. Uh, I'm an IB member. I lead workshops for the MYP, for the IB. I am a program leader. And while I was on my journey with schools, I saw the power of disruption. I saw the power of AI, and that led me into treading on a new path, and I happened to join AssessPrep. And the journey has been nothing short of a sense of thrill and excitement for me ever since then. I've been with AssessPrep for over 2 years now, and it's been wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I have with me Julie Baxter, fine, dedicated educator. I've known her for the past couple of months. I've been interacting with her extensively. She's been helping us trial a lot of features on the platform. And another reason why I connect so well with her is because she's an English language and literature facilitator as well. So, yes, we have a lot in common there. She's been teaching at the International School of Busan, where she teaches both English and Spanish. She taught at the American School of Kinshasa in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Before that, well, and I was amazed to read this about Julie, is that she taught in Sydney, where she also worked as a marker for the Spanish high school certificate examinations. So Julie not only speaks or is not only an English language and lit teacher, speaks English, she speaks Spanish, and she speaks French as well. So she is someone who's found her current obsession with the power of AI and how it can actually become a collaborative tool for educators, while trying to also get her students in the lower MYP, that's in grade 8 and grade 7, to use AI effectively and ethically, more importantly than effectively. So I will be talking to Julie in greater detail about these things. Before we delve into the conversation, for the benefit of those of you who are new, who don't know about AssessPrep, just a quick introduction. AssessPrep is an ed tech platform that was formed in the year 2017 with an intention of supporting schools to transition from the traditional pen and paper handwritten assessments to the more digital or online assessments. And it's ironical because we've completed a full cycle. That's what you're going to hear in the next part of the session, where we've actually come back to pen and paper being digitalized. But yes, AssessPrep allows you to actually prepare your students for primarily the MYP assessment style assessments, formatives, summatives, class tests. They're interactive in nature. You have different question types. You've got this multimodalism, which is actually at the tip of your fingers. It helps you because it's created a lockdown application, a very secure environment in which students can take the assessment, which mimics the MYPE assessment software, thereby preparing students more and more effectively. Not forgetting the fact that AssessPrep has also launched the AI tool within the platform that actually helps you to create the assessment, create an infinite number of questions, and even grade them. And we'll see a lot about this AI feature and how it works when Karan does his part of the presentation. Uh, a big thank you to our partners and collaborators with that's ManageBack. We work very, very closely with ManageBack. We have absolutely seamless integration with ManageBack. Schools which are using ManageBack and wish to subscribe to AssessPrep find it extremely convenient uh, as far as logging in is concerned, because it's just a single sign-on. Transitioning from not having AssessPrep to adding AssessPrep is just at the click of a button, because the setup is one click. And then any assessment that you conduct on AssessPrep, any grade that you award to the student gets automatically transferred onto ManageBack into your gradebook, because that's how the sync runs. So that's how closely ManageBack and AssessPrep actually work. Well, that's that, ladies and gentlemen. Let's come down to brass tacks, and let me throw open this conversation with Julie. And let me ask you, Julie. Let's just start off with the most important thing. In your experience, you saw assessments transition from pen and paper to e-assessment. You saw e-assessment then become now AI-driven assessment, and so on and so forth. And of course, with the element of the fact that assess prep was part of your journey in a couple of those stepping stones, how has that transition been for you as an educator?
So when it was first introduced at our school a couple of years ago, it was introduced by our tech guy, and he was overexcited, and he kind of gave too much too quickly, and everyone was a little bit like, oh my god, I can't. It was in a PD session, and there was loads of other things he introduced us to at the same time. So everyone was a little bit like, it kind of got lost in all the information. So it wasn't until a while later when I wanted to start using it in like the lockdown mode that I really started to understand how it works. It's just, for me, like a lot of my students, I know they have to be able to write things by hand, but their handwriting is so appalling a lot of the time. And I mean, I can't complain because my handwriting's fairly awful as well. But it was so time consuming marking their work. And so it's not just that I can read all their work now, but also all the marking, and then that what you were talking about, how the grades can be synced straight into ManageBack, is just brilliant. We also have to release the grades and the feedback to parents, and I talked to you guys and ManageBack a couple of months ago saying that I really wish that the feedback comment would go straight onto ManageBack as well, because it didn't. Everything stayed in AssessPrep. And then the next time I pushed everything through, it happened. The feedback was there in ManageBack as well. So that one sticking point for me was like fixed straight away. So thank you for that. But that's kind of what it's been like working with you guys, is that I didn't realize that you were such a hands-on company. Like every time I've got an issue, you get straight back to me. And every time you've had feedback about what needs to be improved, the next time I go to use it, it's been changed. So that's been like really big for me, because like we were talking about the other day with AI just moving so fast, I really feel like you guys are keeping up with it, which is obviously very handy.
Thank you for that vote of confidence, Julie. You brought up a very pertinent point when you were talking about your experience, and that's something that I wrote down. You said that the earlier process was time consuming. Now, time, I mean, it's smallest of the words, but most important of them for all of us today. Time is money, time is everything. The entire transition from pen and paper to digital assessments to e-assessments to AI-powered assessments to grading to giving feedback, personalization of learning, that entire student life cycle, student academic life cycle. When the IB transitioned that into the e-assessments, and now they've planned the same thing for the diploma, how does the factor of time play a role in your life as an educator, and how has edtech companies or edtech platforms supported you in that time frame system?
So obviously the AI helping you to create questions and everything is great. But as we've talked about, I mostly use it when I want to set my students like a long answer, quite like, for example, they have to write an essay. So if they're doing the essay in the lockdown app, and it's also great because they can't copy and paste into it either. So those eager beavers that like copy and paste something and then wait until the next morning for the test doesn't work. So I'm not necessarily using it to create my questions, because I often have, like, I'm just doing one question. But it's more for me when I come to the grading, it gives really good feedback for the essays. And it has different levels in it as to what kind of feedback I want. Do I want it to go quite easy on them, or do I want it to go tough on them? And then also there's how you can click through. So say, for example, if there were 3 different long answer questions in my test, I can click through question 1 for everyone. And obviously you get quicker and quicker marking if you're marking the same question over and over again. So it's great for that. And then also sending the grades across to, and you can see in that it works a little bit like how ManageBack annotation does as well. You can, I purposely took that screenshot with an annotation showing, so I can annotate within the actual essay, but then there's also the feedback down the side. And I didn't realize that I could play around with the feedback to get it to change, because what I've been doing a lot of the time is getting the first lot of feedback and then going over to ChatGPT and asking it to change it in a certain way. But you pointed out to me that I don't need to be doing that anymore. So for me, it works really well. And I find that, I don't know if I'm making this up in my head, but I find that with my the teacher explanation, it takes my language into the feedback. So I always rewrite my grading rubric so that it's more in student language and less in like IB language, which confuses the kids. And it takes the language from my rubric language and uses it in the feedback, which is obviously very, very handy for the kids as well.
And that's primarily one of the most important things that we want. And I speak today as an educator, not from just an ed tech point of view, but when I remember having my discussions with the team at AssessPrep about launching AI and bringing AI into the model, into the whole workflow, one of the points that really came out, and you brought it out again today, is subtly actually being able to make life easier for the teachers. There's a lot of monotony involved. Like you said, yes, handwriting is, yes, one of the biggest issues that we deal with, which is why we all get glasses before we turn 40. But the fact of the matter is,
I was
funny,
47 actually.
I'm not wearing my today, but that's beside the point. But that's handwriting is just one. But after one point of time when you're marking, you realize that you've sort of shut your brain off. It's working like a robot. There's absolutely no newness. There's nothing wow about it. So I think the power of AI here, like you pointed out, helps to break that mundane monotony. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it does. It feels more like it's collaborating with me. I mean, I still obviously need to read all of their writing, because I do still need to check the feedback. And sometimes if I've been marking over and over again, the AI also gets a bit bored and sort of drops off a bit, and I have to start adding new prompts to get it to like up its game again, because it starts to like give out the same kind of feedback. So I need to get it back on track sometimes. But it's quicker because, first of all, it types out all the feedback for you. So then you're just adjusting little things if it's maybe focused more heavily on something that wasn't your focus. But it's just like, I mean, look at the level of feedback you can see there on the screen. Like that's a lot of typing in itself. And really all I need to do is go in and fix it and maybe make it more personal to the student. You know, like if I'm particularly ask them to start to try to improve a certain thing. Like, for example, some students might not be using enough like higher level vocabulary. So I'll go in and point that out, or I'll congratulate them for having thought about what kind of vocabulary they're using, because it's not in my rubric, but it is something that I've talked about with the student. So I'm still adjusting. It's not like cutting out the work altogether. I could never just post the feedback as is. But then also I wouldn't be doing my job as a teacher if I did that. I need to read their writing to know where they're at, you know, like I can't let AI take care of all of it, sadly.
Which brings me to another point which you picked up in in our conversation earlier. You said you use one or two questions. Now it obviously also goes to show that we have an existing question bank which is available for teachers. So it's not just AI. So for the MYP, there are 470 something assessments, 15 subjects, 10,000 questions that you can use. They're all multimodal in nature. That's the word we use in the IB. They're all multimodal type of assessments. In the DP, you've got 700 something assessments, 20,000 questions, 15 subjects, and all possible subjects that I can think of. I know because I've worked with the team on this project. How useful do you think a bank of this sort? We retort to these banks as educators. We keep looking for places to go, saying, somebody give me information. How useful do you feel these banks really are?
So for the style of assessments I've been doing at the moment, for example, earlier today I was trying to put together a grade 6 Spanish quiz, and it wasn't very useful. And the science and maths teachers of like the higher level science and maths have said that the questions in the like the AI doesn't give it deep enough questions or answers, more like, but that the library does have more in it than maybe what the AI can do for that level of work. But I mean, for me, what I'm going to be using it for, what I'm going to use it more for me is I'm trying to get more of my grade 8 and 9 assessments. I'm trying to get students a bit closer to e-assessment style questions. And for that, the library and the question bank is going to be really handy.
Cool. I'm well, that's wonderful to hear. And what I also liked is the fact that teachers are actually going out on a limb and saying that they found the bank to be a little more useful than the AI. But there are 2 points that emerge from this one statement. One is that yes, thank you very much for the vote of confidence that the bank is good. But the other thing that I, as an educator, from one educator to the other, it's time to unlearn, it's time to upskill, it's time to upgrade, it's time to up the game for us. If we want to survive, we need to be on our A game. Now, yes, there are a lot of question banks, there are a lot of repositories available. But if we're not going to be able to use those repositories with the power of AI effectively, like you mentioned earlier, you still have to do the reading. You still have to go through the questions yourself. You still have to read what the AI says. Don't trust it blindly.
Yeah.
Let it do the mundane job that you were doing all this while. That's the understanding we need to have within the education fraternity. And that might help. Which brings me to another very, very important aspect when what you said earlier is preparing your students for the MYPE assessment. And then in effect, the DP assessments as well that the IB has already outlined. Effective May 2026, the e-assessments are going to be rolled out. The digital assessments are going to be rolled out in the DP. And when they go all the way to 2030, it's going to be completely digital. How do you see this sort of transition affecting the student community at large?
I don't know, because it's so scary, because well, not scary, because I said to you the other day that I'm refusing to get scared by AI, because I feel like we're all in the same boat, in that it's happening, it's never going away. It's more that we have to look at how we're going to use it and how we're going to make sure the kids can still think critically, how we can still get the work from the kids, which is obviously a reason why using AssessPrep has been good, because you can have the lockdown app so the kids still get that they need to be able to do the work without AI. I think at the moment as a teacher, one of the biggest things is that it's saving me tons of time. But then the flip side of that is I'm also spending a lot of time doing practice runs of putting the work I'm setting through AI to see what it gives me so that I can now detect it when a kid does it to cheat. So it's kind of, yes, it's helped me with some of the work, but it's also created more work because I'm needing to stay on top of it from that end as well. Like I'm having to be able to recognize what an AI answer looks like. And I think the other scary thing is, and this was in the book that we had to read at school for the book club, like Teaching with AI, is that the average answer, like the 4 out of 8 in MYP, that answer is going to be what everyone can do because of AI. So now the expectations are going to be so much higher. And I kind of worry about the disparity that that's going to bring about for students as well. So that's kind of, I'm kind of, my head's a mess, like, because sometimes it thinks, oh my God, this is so exciting, what a time to be alive. And then other times it's like, oh no, education's going to go down the drain, kids aren't going to be able to think for themselves. So, and I think everyone probably feels like that. It's, you know, like one day it seems like the best thing that ever happened, especially from my point of view, is like it helps me with all my planning, it helps me with my marking. But then, you know, the other side is the kids that, you know, like when they do, like when they were doing Google searches and they just take the first thing that comes up on Google, like they're going to do the same on AI. They're just going to use the first answer AI gives them instead of learning to use it properly, which is obviously going to be our job. I think I just went off on a tangent. Sorry, I got a bit excited.
No, that's a very, very pertinent point you picked up, and I'm going to come back to that in a moment. I remember having a conversation with you a few weeks ago, where you said, a couple of years ago, we were asking ourselves, where are we going? We had the calculators and people said, no, we don't want to use this. And then it's at the tip of our fingers. Then came the internet and he said, we don't want to use this. And then it's on our mobile phones. Then came the computer and then they said, oh, we don't want it. Now everybody wants a phone, which is practically on the tip of their thumbs. And now you have, well, utopia in the form of a dystopian view or dystopia in the form of a utopian viewpoint, but you have AI right there, glaring at you right in the face.
Yeah. And I mean, it's taken over everything. I mean, in our staff meeting today, it was the main topic of conversation and such different points of view from everywhere and all the new policies that we're having to bring in and like it's wild. It's massive. It's a time for change. Like, you know, there's like teachers that are just about going into retirement, like kind of like wiping the sweat off their forehead, like, oh, thank God I can get out before I have to worry about this. And I get it, like, because it's really something we have to stay on top of it. And it can be exciting, but it's also worrying.
True, very true. Which brings me to my last question for you, Julie. What do you feel about the future of education? What do you feel about the future with AI walking hand in hand with students? And I'm going to pull this out from a quote that you mentioned in one of the books that you read, that by the time you finished reading the book, you finished it actually, and you were ready for the book club, 50% of what you had read was already outdated. So that's the speed at which we're moving forward. What's your take on this?
So this is what I was saying about how I'm refusing to get worried because everyone's in the same boat. We're all worried about it, but also because I have lived through all those other things, you know, like the internet coming and everyone having computers and like the speed at which all that has changed and how it's speeding faster and faster now with AI. I think it's super exciting, just as but I think I'm sort of caught in that utopia thing of it all at the moment. And I try not to worry about the other side of it. Because it is good in terms of like teachers can, well, I feel like at the moment I've got more time to focus on my actually making a lesson great and interesting and what I'm actually teaching, because I'm saving so much time on the marking process and the logging grades. And I don't, like before I might think twice about setting like an extra formative or something like that, because I'd just be like, I'm just not going to have time to mark it, and then that's kind of doing half a job. And now I don't even think like that. I know that because of AI, I've got the time. Like I can get things marked. It's changed my job. Yeah, I'm still excited about it. I'm not going to get down about it yet.
Well, may the excitement prevail and maybe all sail through. This reminds me of, well, what you just said reminds me of a feeling that I got when AI came into the picture. And the only anecdote that I can draw back is from a very old movie of the yesteryears that I watched as a child growing up, The Gods Must Be Crazy. I don't know if any of us in the audience have seen this. And I actually feel like that guy with the bottle fell on my head. That's an AI came and hit me in the head, and I said, okay, what just happened? But yes, that's exactly where we're heading right now. But thank you, Julie. Thank you so much for taking the time out, for sharing your invaluable insights, for sharing so much that's
Thank
actually
you so much.
with not just you. And I'm sure everybody in the audience can resonate with what you just said, because we're all teachers together and we're all feeling the same thing. With we have jitters at times, we have really good feelings at times, and we have an empty stomach at times. So I think those feelings are something that we share, and the fact that you agreed to come up onto the platform and share that with everyone, we sincerely appreciate it. We have another poll, ladies and gentlemen, that will open up in the next couple of seconds. We just want to know, what curricula do you offer at your school? This is a multi-select option. We'll start the poll and run it for 30 seconds right about now. Please feel free to answer this poll. Wow, the numbers are really going up with 70 participants, something. It's amazing. 81% of the poll shows that we are either in the diploma or the career related program. 72% is the middle year, 56 is primary, and 16% is IGCSEs, that's CAIE and A levels. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for participating in that poll. I am now going to hand over to the co-founder of AssessPrep, Karan Gupta, who is going to actually blow our minds away with something that's absolutely revolutionary within AssessPrep. And like I said, the circle has come to an end, where we said transitioning from pen and paper to digital assessments. We're back with pen and paper and digital assessments. Over to you, Karan.
Thank you so much, Karan. Thank you so much, Julie, for joining us today. Hi, everyone. I am Karan. I'm the co-founder of AssessPrep, and I'm really excited to introduce you to our latest feature, the paper mode. And there's a reason why I'm very excited today, because this feature is very, very close to our hearts, because we noticed a gap when we created a digital platform. While we were focusing on digital assessments and helping schools transition to digital assessments, the schools that rely on pen and paper assessments were being left behind. And we wanted to change that. We understand that there's a transition that is happening from pen and paper assessments to digital assessments, but it'll take time, it'll be gradual. And we wanted to build something that schools can use to transition gradually from pen and paper assessments to digital assessments. As far as we know, we are the first ones to offer this, and no one else, no other platform has built something quite like this. This is a solution which brings the power of AI and analytics to pen and paper assessments. So you can still conduct the assessment on pen and paper, but you can automate everything else from test creation to grading and analysis. So if I talk about the vision and why we've built this in the MYP, and this is something that we've been discussing all throughout the webinar, we've been seeing that about 40% of the schools have transitioned to e-assessments. But a lot of the other schools still rely on pen and paper assessments. Even in those 40% schools, they want to do both kinds of assessments. Maybe in the lower MYP, they do pen and paper assessments. In the DP, we know schools are starting to transition to digital assessments with one subject group next year. But most assessments still happen on paper. So we built paper mode to support these schools, to help them transition gradually on their own terms. while they keep the best parts of the pen and paper assessments, the comfort of the pen and paper assessments. So the idea was simple, that we want to eliminate the inefficiencies while retaining the comfort of the pen and paper assessment. So the task like creation of an assessment, grading, analysis, reporting, all of these take a lot of time and effort. We wanted to automate these mundane tasks and also wanted to give schools deep insights into how students are performing against the curriculum standards or syllabus topics while they're doing the pen and paper assessments. So the paper mode helps you embrace the best of both the worlds. So even if you're fully pen and paper, partially digital, or thinking about transitioning in the future, you can use this paper mode and eliminate the mundane tasks that you have to do throughout the assessment cycle. So that's the idea. If I talk about the workflow and how it works, and I'll be showing you a live demo of how this works. The first step is how you can use AssessPrep to create your assessment. So you can create assessments using AI, or you have an extensive question bank of over 30,000 questions in the MYP or DP, or you can build your own questions. So you can use any of these three ways to create your assessment quickly. Then you can export it in the form of a PDF with a space for student answers. Finally, the students write this assessment on pen and paper, so there's no technology in the classroom. And once you collect those submissions back, you can just bulk upload these submissions into AssessPrep, and it automatically maps the student submission to the correct student and question with a very high level of accuracy. And finally, you can get AI to grade the handwritten submissions. And you get, because every question is tagged to the curriculum standards, you get a lot of detailed analytics. And those grades automatically sync back into your managed by gradebook. So everything else is digital, but there's no technology in the classroom. So if I take you through the process and how this really works, so what I would do is I would just open AssessPrep and first talk about how you can create an assessment on AssessPrep in the paper mode. So the first step would be either you can choose from the variety of content types and question types that we offer and add your own questions. Or you can just simply click on the From Library button. And here what you can do is you can choose either the AssessPrep library and find questions in the AssessPrep library. Or what you could also do is you can generate your own questions using AI. So you can click on Generate with AI, and you can select from the different types of question types. You can select the different topics. So these are the IB topics, IBDP topics. So if you're using any other curricula, you would see the curriculum standards from that curricula being reflected here. You can choose the different parameters like command terms, criteria, strands, marks, whatever you want to choose. And then you can just click on the generate button and generate questions. You can give more context to this and you can just generate questions. So you have three ways of doing this. You can either generate using AI, or you can add from library, or you can add your own questions. So that's the first step. So the next step would be to be able to then assign it to your students. So using the Deliver tab, you can come onto the Deliver tab and then choose the paper mode. So let's just go back and just compare how this works against a traditional pen and paper assessment. So when you're creating an assessment, usually without the paper mode, you would have to spend hours searching for the perfect question. You would have to spend time finding the best curriculum aligned questions, and you will have to create an assessment from scratch. You would have to then get all of those questions into a Google document or a Word document or Word editor. And then you have to spend time formatting those questions, which can be time consuming and frustrating sometimes. Then because you do not have the ability to automatically tag these questions to the curriculum standards, it can create some blind spots. It can lead to some inconsistencies or curriculum gaps. You might not cover the entire syllabus. And when you want to collaborate, how do you usually collaborate? You would either share the Google Doc with the other teacher, or you would do it over email, which which can be insecure, and it is limited in its ability to collaborate. With paper mode, what you would be able to do is you can first use the vast library of IBDP and MYP that we offer and quickly pick questions. You can choose the AI-powered creation. You can choose from the different question types that we offer and quickly create your assessments. And finally, all the questions that you create on AssessPrep go into a centralized content repository for your school, and you can just reuse them later, and you can collaborate more effectively with each other. So this is the big difference when you're creating an assessment without the paper mode and with the paper mode. If I come on to the delivery, what you need to do on AssessPrep is you need to go into the deliver tab and now just choose the paper mode. You can schedule it. All of these things don't matter. You can schedule it for a particular date and time. You can choose the timed assessment, and then you can select if you want to map it to some students in your class, or you can select students individually, and then you publish the assessment. Once you publish the assessment, what you need to do is you then can export this assessment and just choose space for student answers, and it would print a beautiful copy for each student. So if once you click on export, what this would do is it would export a nicely formatted version of the assessment for each student. So I can just download the zip file. And if I just open this in the browser, so you can see what it has done is it has given the questions with space for student answers. You can obviously change how much space you want to give for each question. And then you can distribute it to each student. So it's labeled by the student name and student code. So you just print this out for each student and distribute it for to each student. So if I talk about the delivery for a without paper mode assessment, you would typically create this assessment and print it out in bulk for all students. With paper mode, it's the same. The students would obviously write it on pen and paper, but it's pre-labeled, it's well formatted, and the students would still take it on pen and paper, and there's no technology involved in the classroom. While the students are taking the assessment in class, there's no technology involved. But when you collect the assessments, there are some inefficiencies or some risks that are involved, because it's all paper that you're collecting from students. And then if you want to hand it off to teachers, then you have to sort it. You have to give it to the right teachers to grade, which might be a little cumbersome. There might be a chance of losing, or there's a risk of losing and misplacing the paper sheets. With the paper mode, you as a teacher can bulk upload everything into AssessPrep. So you just take pictures using your mobile phones, you scan them using an automatic document feeder, anything works. You don't need special devices for this. And everything goes into AssessPrep, and it auto maps it correctly with each student and each question. And because there is a digital backup, you do not have to worry about losing the sheets of paper or transporting them to home while you're grading them. So it's all there in one place digitally for everyone. So if I just show you this process on AssessPrep. So you would just simply come on the grading tab, and here what you can do is you can just click on bulk upload answer sheets, and you can just choose the answer sheets that you want to upload. So I have some submissions from students with student handwriting, which I would want to upload. So what I can simply do is I can just bulk upload all the answer sheets for the students into AssessPrep. And once I upload them, what it would do is it would start processing the images. It would start auto mapping these images to the right questions. So if I just open any of the questions here, what I would be able to see is this is Chloe, and it has found the right question and the right answer. So the question is describe the functions. You can see it's found the right question here, and it has mapped it correctly to the right student and the right question. And now simply what I need to do is I just need to simply click on grade with AI, and it would automatically analyze the student's handwriting and assign the grades and feedback. And it'll take about 2 minutes, depending on the number of students that are mapped to this assessment and the number of questions. It might take anywhere between 2 to 30 minutes to automatically do this process. But what then it would allow you to do is just very quickly grade all the student submissions, including if there are diagrams, if there is mathematics, if there is anything else that the student has drawn in their submission, it will grade all of that. So you do not have to worry about all of those things, that it will only be able to grade handwriting. It can grade diagrams, it can grade tables, graphs, everything that the student has attached with their answer script. And you can just simply click on grade with AI, and it would assign grades and feedback and would be able to understand the student's handwriting. So if I talk about this process of grading and how it differs from without the paper mode as compared to with the paper mode. So without paper mode, obviously you have to do manual totaling of marks. You can miss questions, and there is this mundane task that we have to do, and there can be errors, human errors that might come up because of that. Secondly, you have to spend hours manually grading each question. So you have to go through the student's answer, go through the mark scheme, and then give very actionable feedback to the student and marks. And this can be really, really time consuming. And obviously, once while you're doing it on paper, if you want to give feedback, so if you want to give it back to the students, you would have to physically return the graded papers. But with the paper mode, it's error free because it auto totals all the questions. It cannot leave a question unmarked. So it won't allow you to publish. So there's no errors that would creep in. There is AI assisted grading. So it would be automatically be able to grade handwritten responses. And again, we are not trying to replace the teachers. It's just an assistant for you. So you can just decide how you want the AI to grade. And I'll go through these grading settings. But also you can manually override the marks and the feedback that the AI has given. And the third step is if you want to publish the results, or if you want to return the feedback that you've given to the students, it's immediate. So you can just click on publish all, and it would immediately publish the results, and the students would be able to see the feedback that you've given them or the marks that you've given them. So if I show you this on AssessPrep very, very quickly. So one of the things with AI is what you can do is you can export, you can publish all results in one go with the digital platform that we offer. What you can also do is you can export everything to an Excel in one go. And once you publish the results, all the results would automatically move back into your managed by gradebook. And you can see all the grades, and the feedback that you've given would automatically sync into your managed by gradebook if this assessment is linked to the managed by task. So that's one of the things that you can do on AssessPrep. Just one more thing that I wanted to show here is the grading settings. So when you're grading the assessment, what you can do is you can choose the settings for each how you want this assessment to be graded. So you can select the language, and you can select the length, and you can also select the complexity or the strictness of the grading. So all of those things are also possible. Now, if I come on to the analyze and report, which is very, very minimal if you're doing pen and paper assessments. So because it's very hard to analyze and tag every question with topics, so there is minimal insights you get when you're doing pen and paper assessments. And this is one of the big differences. This is one of the main reasons that why we've created the paper mode. So it's very, very difficult because then you would have to analyze each student's assessment and then create an Excel and analyze how the students have performed as per the different curriculum standards. Secondly, it's a manual data entry process when you want to transfer these grades into spreadsheets or an LMS like ManagePack. But with paper mode, because every question was tagged to the relevant curriculum standard, and so you get immediate analytics. So you can see how the students have performed overall, how they've performed in each question. And you can also see how the students have performed for any topic or any curriculum standard. Also, as I've shown you, how the grades can automatically move back into an Excel, or you can auto sync it to ManagePack. So there's no data entry, manual data entry that's involved. So I'll just very quickly show you how this works in terms of the analyze feature. So when you're creating an assessment, you can tag it to any curriculum standard. So I have this assessment here. If I'll just unpublish it, and what I can do is I can see that I can add explanations or mark schemes, but I can also tag it to the different curriculum standards. I can tag it to command terms. I can also select how many lines I want it to print. When I say space for student answers, I can select, okay, I want students to have 10 lines. We have a default formula where it gives twice the number of lines as the number of marks, but you can change that. You can override that. So you can really customize it to your own needs, and it will give you a very nicely formatted version. You can add a teacher explanation or mark scheme. And not only that, once the assessment has been published and you've received submissions, you have the ability to then edit the mark scheme that you've added. It's not that it's set in stone and you can't change it. You have the ability to edit it even after you've received the submission. So you can just simply click on the edit button here and you can edit the mark scheme that has been added. If it's not grading it properly and you want to give some more, you want to give it some more instructions, you can just edit the mark scheme. And so this is, and if I come onto the Analyze tab, then you can see that it has started grading and it has started generating some analytics. So you can see an overall analytics. You can see how the students have performed and how they are distributed. You can see how they've performed for the different questions. So it has already graded the first 3 questions. You can see the average performance for each question, the type of question, the curriculum standard it was mapped to, how much marks the students have received for each of these questions. And I can also see the performance for each of the curriculum standards. So I can see how they've performed for A 2.1 or A 2.2. So I can see all of that here. So this auto populates itself while you're grading with AI. So this is the kind of analytics that you can receive when you're doing an assessment in the paper mode, which would be very, very difficult in an assessment if it's being done on pen and paper. So if I quickly go through and recap all the benefits for the paper mode, the one thing is you can embrace the best of both worlds. You do not have to be all digital or all on pen and paper. You can do everything digitally, but just you can retain the comfort of getting the students to do it on pen and paper. The second thing is there is zero tech dependency. You do not need student devices. You do not need Wi-Fi at your school to implement this. Third, you can save time with the AI-driven workflows, whether it's creating an assessment with AI, grading it, or analysis. Fourth is you get very detailed analytics, and you can tag it to the different curriculum standards. It's a cost-effective solution, so there's no need for expensive infrastructure in your school. And finally, if you're trying to transition to digital assessments, but you are a little apprehensive, so this can be a little more smooth because it's not really changing how students are doing the assessments. And that can be phase 2 for your school. So you can shift to digital assessment smoothly on your own terms. So it's making you future ready because all different curriculums are moving towards digital assessment. So this can be the first step towards it. So I just wanted to go through some FAQs that usually come up when we discuss paper mode with some of the schools that are using it. So do we need any special hardware or software to use the paper mode? So what I would say is there are no extra devices that are required. If you have a smartphone and it has a camera, you can just click a picture and then upload all of those images together, it would automatically find the right student and the right question. And you do not require any expensive kind of scanning devices or anything. A teacher can just use it and quickly just upload everything onto AssessPrep in one bulk upload. And there is a minimal learning curve when it comes to students. They do not need any devices while they are taking the assessment on AssessPrep using the paper mode. The second is how accurate is the AI in mapping and grading handwritten submissions. So firstly, it's highly accurate when it comes to mapping. It knows the correct question and the correct student, and it automatically maps it. But if there is an error, and if there was one, let's say one submission which wasn't mapped correctly to the correct student, you can always change it. You're always in control. Also, in terms of grading handwritten submissions, it's pretty accurate, but you will have to review it. It's not a replacement, it's just an assistant. And you can always override the grades that the AI has given. The third is, if you're not transitioning to digital assessments, is it the right thing for you? Uh, it's okay if you're not transitioning to digital assessments. It's just removing all the inefficiencies that you have with the pen and paper mode of assessment. So you can choose between the best of both worlds. Can we align it with our school's curriculum? Even if you do not have the IB, if you have the IB curriculum, all the curriculum standards are built in, but you can tag questions to different curriculum frameworks, including IB, Cambridge, NGSS, and 600 plus curriculum frameworks that are available on AssessPrep. You can generate questions on the basis of these different curriculum standards, and you can also get detailed insights. One of the questions is if the student's handwriting is extremely messy, or if they have diagrams or figures. I've already answered this, but even if it's extremely messy, the AI is pretty good and it's able to recognize most difficult handwriting styles. It can also read and evaluate images, charts, and figures. But if there's a clarification that is needed, teachers can easily review, annotate, or override AI decisions to ensure accuracy. So that's it from my side. I think we have another poll. So what would be your next step with AssessPrep if you are already a customer and interested in learning more, or you want paper mode to be enabled for your school? If you want a free trial and you would like to explore the platform, or if you're not interested at this time and you would probably want to explore it later, you can choose any of these three options. We'll reach out to you on the basis of how you answer this question. So please feel free. I'll keep this open for another 20 seconds probably. I think that's great. Thank you. Now, any questions that we have in the chat box that we can answer. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. So we've got heaps of questions. A lot of them were covered by the FAQs. So thanks, Karan. I'll just go over a couple of questions because we only have 2 minutes left. So to start things, the question bank that you showed earlier, does it have questions in English only or Korean as well? I'm assuming this is from a school in Korea.
Right. That's a great question. So one of the things that we've been working on is that we want AssessPrep to be used by teachers and students from different parts of the world. And one of the things that we've been working on is the ability to translate assessments into different languages. So let's say we have this assessment here and we would like to use it in another language. So the question bank is primarily in English, but you can use it in any language. So you can just simply click on the translate assessment button and you can choose, let's say I want to translate this entire assessment into Korean. So I can choose Korean and I can click on translate. And what that would do is it would create a copy of this assessment and it would just automatically start translating it. It would take anywhere between 2 to 5 minutes to translate the entire assessment, depending on the number of questions it has. But then you can use it in any language, and any question in the library or in the bank can be translated into any language.
Amazing. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Lee. We've got Nov asking, as an AssessPrep customer, do I need to upgrade to use the paper mode?
If you have the Max AI plan, this is something that we would open up for your school over the next 2 weeks. So we are introducing a paper mode today and to the school community, and we'll gradually open it up for all schools which are on the Max plan. But if your school is using AssessPrep but is on the Plus plan, or if you're confused, if you do not know which plan you're on, you can always reach out to us and you can ask us for a trial or for an upgrade to the to the Max AI plan. This is only included in the top plan, the Max plan that we offer to schools.
Amazing. Up next, we have, can the paper mode assessments also integrate with ManageBack?
Yes, it's integrated. So when you grade an assessment using the paper mode, the grades automatically sync into the ManageBack gradebook. So the grades automatically move back into your ManageBack gradebook. So the task and gradebook integration works even with paper mode.
Amazing. I'll just take a final question as I don't want to go over time. So can you create questions that are not, that do not receive points or grades, but just anecdotal feedback?
Yes, you can create questions that are comments only, which do not receive any points. You can use the comments only rubric to create such questions or assessments. And then once you, so if I've created this assessment, I can just go ahead and choose the rubric as comments only instead of points. And it would be able to grade it with AI and give feedback as well.
Amazing. So we're running over. So I hope we were able to answer most of your questions in the chat, but just in case if we weren't, please reach out to us at support@assessprep.com and we'll be happy to answer all your questions there.
Thank you. Thank you so much.